It's not about if you're trying to achieve something in today's life and you're denied it, then, all right, I'll just stop. What he wanted to achieve is not to rule, it's not to be in charge. Otherwise, if that was his aim, he'd have said, all right, that's it, I'll submit. His aim was to provide a message that would save humanity, a message of freedom and justice, and religion with its pure guiders as a way of perfection. If he had submitted, then the policy of the tyrants would have continued unopposed. And until today, Islam would have been just like any religion that divides people into levels, or asks you to not to use your intellect, or asks you to submit, or the religious institution decides what science approves or not. Well, this was the last message. This was the last hope of someone saving the true religion. And the tragedy began. He told his companions that if you want to go there after me, go. Just go. You're not responsible. They're after me because I represent a figure in the society at that time, and they want my declaration of allegiance. But if you want to go, they won't chase you. But Ashura, being a message of loyalty, they all said no. They won't reach you unless we get killed first. And the day of Ashura, the 10th day of the first month of the lunar calendar, 50 years after the death of the Prophet, the tragedy began. 72 amongst the women and children against thousands. Companions, loyal, family came second. Hussain, narrator, said, there has never been a man in history who would stand up. If he looks back, he would see women and children crying out of thirst. The heat of the desert for days and days. That's what he sees behind him. In front of him, he sees his family, his sons, his brothers, his nephews. And in front of them, he sees his companions. There has never been a man in history who would be put in such position that he sees those beautiful faces, loyal faces, being killed one after the other. He used to carry them back, put them together, respect to their pure bodies. And then came his family, came his son, came his brother. They were killed one after the other, butchered before his own eyes. And every time he looks back, he finds no support, because he will be the last to stand up. Historians say, what a man would hold such a heart, such patience, such strength, such clear vision to what he's doing, that he compiles the bodies of his own companions and his own family, and he hears the cries of his own children and his own sisters, yet he says, I will not submit, I will not surrender. Not because you will get anything out of it, except to teach humanity in generations to come that life without justice and without the freedom and without the nobility of the prophets and their perfect ways is simply not worth living. No supports. Don't say the people who fought Hussain were ignorant, because they were never to be ignorant. He spent hours and hours reminding them of who he is and what is he calling for. They were arrogant. Eventually, when they found the man on his own, they surrounded him. And the body that used to be picked by the Prophet of Islam to be kissed and taken care of them, of him and his brother, became the target for their stones, their arrows, and their swords. And when they realized that he's got no more strength to stand up, and he's bleeding to death, they avoided him, and they went straight for the tents, to burn the tents of the family of the prophets. And the last call he made, he said to them, O men, if you had no religion to obey, to be obeyed by, then at least be free. Act like free men. Don't target the women and the children. Come to me. Leading to death. They still debated who's going to go and kill him. Who's going to go and finish him? One wicked man decided that he will do it. And he did it. He sat on his chest. He slaughtered him. He picked his head in a way of celebration, put it on a spear, and here you are. A mark of victory. We're holding the head of the grandson of the Prophet of Islam. We are victorious. And the celebration began. All the way from Iraq to modern-day Damascus, when it was the capital of the Muslim state. Celebrating victory. They have managed to annihilate the last member of the Prophet's family who can actually revive their religion. But surely they were mistaken. Even the decapitated body wasn't left alone. Their humiliation and brutality became evidence that even their horses were forced to step onto his body. So they thought they made victory by killing the man, but for their surprise, it was a phenomena to start. I don't need George Bush to tell me that in Iraq 25% of the seats of the parliament needs to go for women, because from my understanding of the religion, Zainab, if you remember the first diagram, she was his sister of Hussain, was the central figure in carrying the message of Ashura to the rest of the world, to the rest of you. It's because of Zainab I can stand up today and talk about Imam Hussain. She was the central figure that took care of the remnants of the family of the prophets, and despite being faced by the same tyrants, and despite seeing her brother's supporters, her brother's sons, and her own brothers being killed, she maintained that confidence, that strength that she inherited from her father and her grandfather. She echoed the message of Ashura to the rest of the world. And she said that my brother did not die to rule. My brother died for humanity. My brother died so such tyrants cannot go unopposed. So why do we believe this is quite different from other freedom fighters? Haider highlighted at the beginning that there has been other freedom fighters. From my limited understanding, I can show you a few points why the struggle of Hussain should be on top of your list if you consider a revolution for freedom and humanity. I can tell you what, you can never find the son of a prophet who did that. With all respect to all these individuals across the world, none of them was brought up in the way Hussain was brought up. None of them had heritage, had position in society as Hussain had. Yet he sacrificed that. Because at the end of the day, you know now that he was killed. He didn't get anything out of it. It wasn't a revolution to change so you can rule, it was a revolution for mankind. So the novelty of Hussain, his background, yet his aim out of his religion can never be found in other revolutions. The suffering that he went through, if anyone else was subjected to it, he would have quit. Simply quit. And I hope after this lecture you can go and search about the actual details of the story, but it's a horrible story. I quickly went through it. But to explain to you that a man in his 50s, being left in the desert with few companions, with women and children, surrounded by thousands, no way to go, yet he keeps going. I need that needs a bit of thinking of how hard it is. The sacrifice that he went through, and the group that he led his revolution with. Black, white, Arab, non-Arab. I didn't have time to talk about the group, what kind of companions, what kind of personalities they were, but I'll leave you to find out.